Я предлагаю начать. Меня зовут Женя Бакин, я преподаватель английского языка из Москвы и также тренер учителей. И в прошлом я экзаменатор ЕГЭ, поэтому немного разбираюсь в вопросе. Сегодня будем обсуждать, что же такое говорение к ЕГЭ, и, возможно, еще и подготовиться за оставшиеся считанные недели. Прежде чем я перейду на английский, просто пару общих самых вопросов для вас. Если вы меня слышите, напишите, пожалуйста, в чате «да». Слышите, не слышите? Вот 7 человек слышат, отлично, 10. Прекрасно, это значит, что все-таки я говорю не в пустоту, потому что я совершенно не представляю, кто там сидит с другой стороны камеры, или экрана, или интернета. Ну вот 40 человек здороваются, говорят привет, здрасте. Ура, супер. Okay, good. So as usual, we'll switch to English, and as usual, we have about 40 minutes, and this is a very quick introductory workshop. This is not a detailed training, but I will play you a few recordings, and hopefully we'll be able to see what's right, what's wrong, and which you can do in your situation now, a couple of weeks before the test. Okay, just to make sure that we're on the same page. Make sure you are not distracted by your mobile phones and they do not steal your attention. Close tabs in your browser. Don't let Facebook Messenger or Telegram Messenger interfere. And if you have any question at any point, let me know in the chat box. So we have chat boxes, and if you ask me a question, I'll be able to take a look and then respond appropriately. Okay, so let's start. Speaking. How many parts do we have in ЕГЭ speaking? Can you remember? Let me know in the chat box. And if you know the number, what are the parts? Yes, there are 4 parts actually, yes. And what are they? The first, the second, the third, and the fourth. What are the 4 parts? Briefly, you don't need to translate everything, but what are they? The first one, the second one, the third one. Yes, read, ask questions, and reading. Okay, this is the first one, looks good. How about part 2, 3, and 4? 2, 3, and 4. Subscribe. Of course, not subscribe, actually describe. But you can probably subscribe and then describe. Yes, describe picture, and there is no listening actually for this is speaking. Yeah, it's comparing. Compare and contrast. Yes, Marina, that's important. I'll have it on the slides. So we have 4 parts, and that you are right. And what is the highest score you can get for the speaking? What is the highest score? How many points can you actually get for your speaking part? Yes, that's 20. Yes. And there are 4 parts, and what are the 4 parts? You have 15 minutes actually to go through reading, asking questions, describing a photo, and you need to describe just one photo, and then compare 2 pictures. But actually, there's not just comparing, but compare and contrast. Okay, how many points can you get for each of these? Number 1, how many points can you get for reading? How many points can you get for questions, for description, for comparison? Okay, the first one is 1. Yes, number 2, how many points? 5, correct. Yes, that's 5. Number 3, how many points for picture description? Okay, and then comparing 2 pictures, pretty much the same. Yes, what you're doing in the chat box, I can see it, it's correct. Okay. So from what you can see, the cheapest and the easiest part of ЕГЭ speaking is reading. So it shouldn't take long. Should be an easy job for all of you, even if your language skill is limited. Still, it is possible to achieve, to get at least 1 point for reading, because it's not super difficult. Let's see what it looks like. Usually it goes like this. They show you a title, and so they show you the task. Imagine that you're preparing a project, blah, blah, blah. You know there is no project, and you're not worried, but what you need to do, you just need to read from the very beginning to the end. And you have 90 seconds preparation time. 90 seconds, look through, get ready. I'm putting my timer on. 90 seconds. 45 seconds left. Twenty seconds left. Okay, please stop doing what you're doing. Stop preparing and tell me, this was preparation time. This was not the reading time. And when you have this 90 seconds, what can you do to get ready for this task? In the chat box, let me know what you can do. Okay, try to understand the test, try to read. Kostya, read how? Think about intonation, Dasha is writing. Okay, what else can you do? Find difficult words. Good idea, Ekaterina. Yes. Try to understand meaning. Find difficult words. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, you have 90 seconds to do two things. You need to look through and probably read it, and you can whisper. And it's great because you start articulating the words. And then a good idea would be to focus on some difficult words and to read them a few times. For example, the word anxiety in the text, or the words stressed or choosing, or I think indulged. Yes, indulge. This could be some tricky words. You don't need to understand everything. And actually, intonation is not assessed here. So no one cares how well you read it unless the reader can understand it. The biggest criterion here would be probably, well, your examiner should be able to understand you. Of course, there are some criteria on the examiner list, and it's about pronunciation or reading, but the biggest thing here is if your examiner can understand what you're saying, then you are on the safe page. And actually, this is the first task, and examiners can give you an extra credit for this. Okay, I will give you 90 seconds now. I want you to actually speak out whenever you're sitting. If you're at home, read this out loud. If you are in the streets, just watching your mobile phone, still read this text, practice reading, and you have your 90 seconds. You can start. Thirty seconds left. Fifteen seconds. Okay, thank you. Stop doing what you're doing. Sometimes it's difficult to just sit and wait because sometimes students finish this a bit earlier, and then what you need to do, you just need to relax, sit and wait. I know that some of you managed to complete the task effectively, but now I will read the text myself. So some of you had doubts about some words or maybe some patterns or intonation or word combinations, so you could follow me and check whether you were right or wrong in your guesses. It goes like this. A hobby is an activity you enjoy doing. It is something of your choice, something unique to your taste and talent. A hobby can improve our well-being. It can give more meaning to our life. Just as physical exercise is important to the body, for the body, relaxation of the mind is also essential. In fact, studies reveal that people who cultivate themselves through such activities are less likely to suffer from anxieties, depression, and other negative feelings. A hobby is the easiest way to restore your balance whenever you are overworked or stressed. Since it is an activity of your choosing, it will always give you pleasure and help you to relax. Even if you indulge in your hobby for a short period of time, you still can feel the difference in your energy level and spirit. When you have a hobby, you will always find time for it. Sounds like a commercial, huh? I'm not selling anything, but a few remarks. If you made a mistake at some point, just stop for a second and go for take two. Reread the word again. No big deal. And I made this little mistake. I said to the body instead of for the body. But what I did, I got back and I read for the body. A few general tips would be, first, use the preparation time to read the text, to read difficult words several times. You do not need to understand the words. Even if you don't understand words, words such as anxiety or essential or indulge, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all how much of this section understand. You just should be able to read it, maybe word by word. This should be all right for you, okay, for your level. While reading, it is recommended to slow down. This will give you some time to think, so you have your cognitive skills developed, and you will have more time to process the data, the text. And also, you will not speed up. Your examiner will be able to understand you. So slow down. 90 seconds is more than enough to read the text. And finally, if you made a mistake, repeat the word and continue. Don't worry much about these mistakes. Do not come back later on. Just a slip of a tongue, no big deal. Reread the words and keep going. This is it about task 1. Easy life. Let's move on, and it's going to be task 2. Task 2 is more challenging. You said these are 5 questions, correct. And this is not actually about speaking. This is not a speaking activity, although you speak. This is a grammar test. And they will give you 1 point for 1 correct question. In your chat box, can you write down 2 questions for prompt number 1 and prompt number 2? Just 2 questions, not 5, just 2. Prompt number 1 and prompt number 2. Okay, and number 2? This is a tricky question. Nearly all of you made a mistake, and I'll tell you why. And this is not about you. Your knowledge of English is enough to avoid these mistakes. It's all about testing. And I'll tell you in a second. Okay. Now, the tricky part of it is, first, you need to ask the questions. And most of you know that you should ask direct questions about the price or about where you can buy it. And usually they give you a visual, a prompt, so you know what they're talking about. If you don't know the word appliance or any other words from the task, don't worry, you can still use it. And actually, Alexander, I don't know your last name, Alexander was right. I think he asked, his question was, how much does the appliance cost? The question, how much does it cost? Some examiners might downgrade, might give you 0 instead of 1. Grammatically, how much does it cost as a correct sentence, is a correct question grammatically. But sometimes it is recommended to ask about the object which you see in the picture. So a good way, a safer way to ask a question here would be, how much does the appliance cost? Or the mixer, it's a mixer here, but I would go for appliance, and then you'll be 100% safe, and it's 100% correct. Correct question, and you're talking about appliance. So general questions, for example, how much does it cost? Or can I buy it online? They don't work if you're talking about the first question. And for number 2, can I buy it online, meaning the appliance from the first question? Then it's okay, it's fine. So be careful. When asking your first question, make sure you mention the object which you see in the picture or which you see in the task. And what you were doing correctly, what you were saying correctly, you were asking direct questions. Questions such as, how about the price? These are not, or tell me about the price. These are not correct questions. You cannot use general questions, and you can't use these phrases. You cannot use indirect questions. You should be using direct questions. Okay, for this type of task, for this activity, a good example would be, how much does the appliance cost? Can I buy it online? How many functions are there? Or how many functions does the appliance have, or does the mixer have? What is the guarantee period for the appliance? Or is there a recipe book which goes with the unit? Or does the recipe book go with the unit? Does the recipe book go with it? Does the recipe book go with the appliance? Yeah. How much is the blender would work, Zoe? I think so. It's not, I'm not sure, but I think it works because the appliance, meaning the blender or the mixer or whatever it is. Yeah. Yes, Kois, yes. How many functions does it have? Correct. Okay. Just to show you how it works, a few more samples. Criteria. To remind you, first, all questions should be grammatically correct. So they are not testing your speaking per se, but they are testing your grammar. First of all, knowledge of grammar, of course. Ask direct questions, and you know this. How much does it cost? Is there, are there, where is this? When did this happen? What? So don't start with vague questions or indirect questions. And ask about the advertisement in an object. You see that object, ask a question about it, especially for the first question. It is important. It is actually crucial this year. A few tips, just basic tips. Direct questions would include, is there, do you have, what is, This would be direct questions. Do not use general phrases in direct questions. Can you tell me about, do you know anything about the price of the appliance? This does not count. Grammatically correct question, but doesn't count for our purposes. And only your last version will count. If you gave 2 versions and you have 20 seconds, and 20 seconds is a lot of time actually to ask a question. But if you gave an incorrect sentence question, give the second one, give a correct one. But if you gave 2 and the first one correct, the second one was incorrect, then you will be downgraded. They will take off your points. And of course, talk about only the question you see in the screen. You will see them one by one, first, second, third, fourth. Do not ask questions about previous prompts you had, just what you see in the screen. And wait time is crucial. They give you 20 seconds, which means you ask a question and then you sit and wait and chill. Wait for the second question, for the third, for the following question. Please, no grammar mistakes. You make one little mistake, you lose 1 point. No grammar mistakes, okay. Let's move on. Task 3, it's more challenging. How many points can you get for task 3? Let me know in the chat box. How many points can you get for this one? It is, yes, 7. And now criteria are diverse, and you actually need to go deeper, and a lot of different functions will be, a lot of different aspects of language acquisition will be assessed. And this is what a task will look like. Some of you know that you're in an imaginary situation with a photo album, and you have one of these pictures in your photo album, and you need to describe these photos to your friends. And you need to say when you took the photo, who is in the photo, what is happening, why you took the photo, and why you decided to show the picture to your friends. What I will do now, I will play you a sample recorded a couple of years ago by one of my ex-students, and I want you to tell me what you think about the sample, whether everything was correct or not everything was correct. Okay. And then I'll tell you what I think. So this is Anya, and Anya, she had sore throat when she was recording this, but that's what she said.
I have chosen picture number 3. I took this picture a few weeks ago when my mother got a new job. In the picture, you can see my mother smiling to the camera, wearing bright clothes and glasses. Moreover, she is sitting in her new office at school as she's a school teacher, and you can see a lot of books around her that she had brought to her new occupation. I took this picture because I thought my mother looked incredibly happy, and this happened for a reason. She got a job with highest salary and better working conditions. This was the day our life was about to change a lot. I decided to show this picture to you because I think my mother looks beautiful in it. Furthermore, you've never seen her before, and I wanted you to know how my mom looks before you meet her. That's all I wanted to say.
In the chat box, let me know what you think about Anya's answer, Anya's attempt. Could you be more specific instead of good or great? This is not a perfect Kosi introduction. I agree. Kosi, could you let everybody know in the chat box what you mean by introduction is not good? Dasha, no one cares about how entertaining it is. It should be just according to the criteria. Fortunately, unfortunately. What was good, Lisa? What was good, Lena? What was... in the picture is acceptable, I would say, in the picture. And usually in the questions, they ask you in the photo. So who is in the photo? Okay, a few comments. Clearly, Anya's level is pretty high, but this was not a super successful answer, and there are a few reasons. Let's take a look at criteria. First, you need to actually achieve the task, and what would this mean? You need to give 12 to 15 phrases. Anya, did you have it? Enough of phrases? Enough of sentences? Enough of phrases, sentences? Yes, no? What do you think? Hello. Yes, yes, thank you. Yes, yes. Enough, yes. There was enough of material. Yes, that's correct. It's quite enough. It's more than enough, probably. Okay. And one phrase would be when you make a longer pause. It's difficult to say where is the beginning or the end in speaking because you cannot actually write and put a full stop. But yes, this was enough. She had a lot. Did she answer all the questions? There were 5. Did she answer all the questions? Actually, she did. She did. So this is not that bad. But now let's take a look at the organization. There should be lead in, there should be introduction, and Kostya was making good points. So what Anya said, I have chosen picture number 2. And this is standard beginning, but it is recommended. It's difficult to pin down, but it is recommended to start with a general phrase. Oh, I have lots of pictures in my photo album. And now I want you to take a look at this one, which is number 2. And there are 2 big ideas here. First, you give an introductory sentence saying that you have a photo album, and this is sort of required. And secondly, you are addressing the listener. And this is super important because you need to be addressing somebody from who you know, you're showing it to your friends. This is why you should be saying you. I want you to see it. I decided to show this picture to you. It might sound a bit silly, but some examiners might be picky. And I made a few calls and I asked a few examiners, say, okay, to be on the safe side, you never know, it's always very subjective, but to be on the safe side, make sure your students say you. So the same goes with conclusion. Aina said, this is what I wanted to say. This is a standard grand finale. Well, it's not a rocket science, but this is what I wanted to tell you. That's why I wanted to show you the picture. Or that's it in my speech to you about the picture. So you should show, you need to show this, that the address, you need to show that you're addressing to the listener you. It is important. Maybe it's not, it might sound boring, it might sound not very meaningful to you, and it's not supernatural, because Aina's talk was flawless in terms of, it's natural, it's authentic, nearly. But make sure you have very detailed introduction, and make sure you have actually this. This is what I want to tell you. Okay, and linkers. Well, Anna Solovyova, Anna had a few linkers, and by linkers here I mean phrases such as however, nevertheless, moreover, furthermore. This is enough. Remember, but and so are not linkers. You should show a bit more. Anya had a few linkers, so she is on the safe page. She's on the safe side now. So there were linkers, actually. There were a few. You message is important. I have already discussed that. Grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. If you make more than 5 mistakes, you get 0 for this criterion. Altogether, you could get 3 for maximum. 3 for task achievement, 2 for organization, 2 for grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. You make more than 5 grammar mistakes, 0. More than 5 vocabulary mistakes, 0. If your examiner cannot understand you mispronounce too many words, 0. Okay, but usually it's somewhere between 0, between 1 and 2. Usually, it is possible to complete the task and get maximum. What I will do now, I will play you another recording, and this is the same task, and I'll show you the task. And this is Sergey, and he's not a particularly strong student, but I want you to focus on his strength. What was good in his answer? What did you enjoy, and what do you think, not his score, but what do you think his strengths are? So this is Sergey talking about actually the same topic. Sergey describing picture.
Let me start with picture number 2. I took this photo 2 years ago. I took this photo in my social network. It was Instagram. In this photo you can see my sister. She is a doctor. Moreover, she is the best doctor in the world. She worked in the hospital. I decided to take this photo because it was the best moment in my life. She smiled. I never seen she smiled before. She's a lovely sister, I think. I decided to show this picture to my friends because they asked me about my sister, and I decided to show this picture. I said it is the best photo in my iPhone. This is what I wanted to say.
This is Sergey. Give me a few positive comments about Sergey's answer. Positive comments, please. Emotional is not on the criteria. Yes, it is good, Tatiana, but it is not on the criteria list, unfortunately. It is personal, that's good, yes. He has linkers, correct, yes. He has some introduction. It is not correct, but it is a good beginning. Soft voice, yeah, but this is not assessed by examiners, unfortunately. It's interesting. Also, it is not assessed according to the criteria. He has a plan, yes. He has reasons. You see, Sergey wouldn't get too high score for this, and this he was not a particular student at that time. For task achievement, maybe 2, because he had more than 15 phrases and all questions are answered, and this would be surprise for Sergey actually, because his speaking skills well at that time were limited. Organization, he could get 2, but probably would get 1. He has a lead in, he has a conclusion, but he's talking about, I decided to show it to my friend, not to you. Again, he does not address somebody directly. And in his introduction, he says, oh, I decided to show this picture number 2 because da, 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 da. Probably a little bit more clarity would be appreciated. And this is all I want to say to you would be a correct conclusion. And this is what I want to say is a conclusion, and this is enough. You can say anything else, but make sure you have you message, especially at the very end, okay? It is highly recommended these days, okay? And finally, well, Sergey would get 0 because he had too many grammar and vocabulary mistakes. So altogether, this would make 3 out of 7. It's not too bad. It's not too bad for Sergey. Yeah, well, Helen, you are right. Yeah, maybe this would take 1 of his points in task achievement. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. And this is task 4, and this is what usually teachers or students get. Oh, before we move on, a few tips about task 3. First, you have a choice of 3 pictures. You need to choose the one which you really know vocabulary for, which you really can talk about. If you know enough words, you can talk. So don't take something you enjoy doing. Take something you can talk about. Make sure you have lead in. I've got lots of great photos in my album, but this shot is one of my favorites, and this is number 2, and that's why. And I want you to take a look at it. Okay, well, introduction should be there. Use standard phrases in the picture. We can see in the background, the foreground, on the right, on the left. Learn these pictures. Do not improvise. Do not reinvent the wheel. Do not rediscover any Americas. Just learn the phrases. Not rocket science. This will take you 20 minutes, half an hour to learn 5 necessary phrases and then keep going. You should not describe what you cannot see in the picture. Unfortunately, you will not get points for this, unfortunately. So make sure you're describing what you see. This is describing what you see. Use the present continuous tense. She is smiling, he is driving, they are playing, they're having fun, because that's what's happening right here, right now. And finally, answer all the questions, finish with a genuine phrase, addressing your listener. This is task 4, take a look. Okay. This is task 4, and the tricky part here is you need to compare and you need to contrast. And it's important to actually describe what you see. Let's take a look at, let's listen to Anya. Anya will read I will play you the track. This is Anya talking about the bear, and I want you to tell me what you think about it. Anya is a strong student, but she might have some problems.
I would like to compare and contrast these 2 pictures. In the first picture, we can see a bear in the foreground and a crowd of people with cameras in the background. I can assume the bear is in the zoo. In the second picture, we can see a wild bear in its natural habitat and many beautiful yellow flowers around it. The main similarity between the pictures is that both of them present the bears, and both animals look strong and big. There are some differences too. In the first picture, a bear is kept in the zoo in some kind of restricted area, probably, and the bear in the second picture is free and lives in its natural environmental conditions. Personally, I prefer wild animals to live in their natural habitat. First of all, animals in zoos are constantly observed by people, which makes the life for a creature very stressful. Secondly, I believe that animals in zoos are given food with chemicals, while animals that are free search for food by themselves and choose something suitable. Overall, life in natural habitat makes an animal much healthier. That's all I wanted to say.
Main criteria would be pretty much the same. You need to give actually the examiner 12 to 15 phrases, and then you should answer all the questions, and then there should be a lead-in, a conclusion, linkers. Well, there is no you message here. I'm sorry, I copied it from the previous slides. And then grammar and vocabulary and pronunciation all should be correct. Let me know about Anya. Has she met all the criteria? What do you think? How well did she do? No, Natalia Oskina, не норм. Of course, you think similarities could be added? Possible. No you message. Well, that's right. This is my mistake. You do not need you message in this part. Well, actually, Dmitrievskaya школа номер 3, actually, there were some contrasts, and she was saying, oh, this is natural habitat, and this is in the zoo. There was some. Well, what Anya said, she said, oh, she said, I'll show you the picture again. And she said, oh, yeah, there are two pictures, and there's a bears, and the first one, this is probably in the zoo, and this the second one in the wild. She's talking about location, but it is crucial to mention action, both action and location. What could be action for the first picture? What could be this action? What action could you mention to get this extra point? Yeah, people are taking pictures, yes. And the second one would be the bear as entertaining himself or itself in the wild, or is hunting. Yeah. It is important. So Anya wouldn't get maximum, unfortunately. This was a strong answer. She made a very small mistake. She said there is differences instead of there are some differences or similarities. But she wouldn't get the highest score because she never talked about action. Action should be there. It is important. And it might be problematic actually for some learners to concentrate on both. So still criteria are the same, and take a look. What would be your response here? Take half a minute. If you want to take notes, go for it. But in half a minute, I want you to actually speak out, and I want you to answer these questions and compare and contrast two photographs, which I took from official YG Bank. 30 seconds preparation time. Ten seconds left. Okay, Stop doing what you're doing, and this is the last challenge for you for today. I want you to compare and contrast two pictures. Make sure you have your introduction, you have your 15 phrases, you answer all the questions, you have your lead in, what you see in the picture and what people are doing, you have linkers, moreover, at the same time, you try to avoid mistakes, and when comparing and contrasting, show what is different in the pictures. For example, they are similar because you can clearly see that this is vacation time for a family or for two different families. And the differences would be not just the summer, but also the type of activity, because this would be the winter activity and this is the summer activity, okay? You can have your own ideas if you want to. You have your 2 minutes. This is your last task for today. Go, 2 minutes, speak. One minute left, keep going. Ten seconds left. Please stop doing what you're doing. And this was task 4, EGA speaking, and a few tips which might help you later on. First, use a standard starter. Do not be too creative. Choose a starter and keep going. I can see 2 pictures in front of me. I'd like to compare and contrast them. Let me start with a picture on the left, on the right. You have a nice introduction, and then you start talking about something which you see. Remember about action and location. This is super important. Use present continuous. This is more than enough. Do not use a lot of complex tenses. You will not get extra points for this at this exam, unfortunately. Talk about similarities. Talk about differences. Give an overview. Answer all the questions, giving your personal opinion, and make sure you have a conclusion. Conclusion is important. Genuine comments would include, make sure you sleep well on the day, sorry, not on before the exam, but before the exam. It's my typo. Use the presentation time wisely. It means if you have preparation time, if you have 2 minutes or 90 seconds, contrast, yes, thank you. Thank you, Sofia Istratova. If you have some preparation time, make sure that you actually use this time. You take a piece of paper and you jot down the ideas. Made a mistake? Correct yourself immediately. Keep going, do not stop. You need to keep going to earn more points. If you made a mistake, don't worry, just keep going. And finally, revise standard phrases before the test. On your exam day, practice speaking with your friends or parents or imaginary friends, and this will also work. Just keep speaking, warm up, articulate a few words in English, talk about something, revise some vocabulary, make sure you have enough of exercise, physical exercise before the test. And for this, just speak English. This should be enough. If you want to practice a bit more, feel free to download and use this ЕГЭ. This is one of the online and mobile apps which you can download for free, and it's advertisement free. We created this last year at Nova Škola, new school, and you can download it and use it for free, and you can send your teacher your voice if you want to. What are your questions? Thank you, Kostya. Какие остались вопросы, что осталось непонятно? Спросите по-русски или по-английски. Если сложно по-английски, спрашивайте по-русски. Приложение называется ЕГЭ. ЕГЭ или ЕГЭ, я не знаю. Анастасия Тишкова, все эти типсы, все эти советы есть, даже больше, с фразами есть в приложении. Посмотрите, будет быстрее. Они там на русском, но будет проще, чем показывать слайд. Пожалуйста, пожалуйста, всем. Да. Еще вопросы есть какие-то? По-русски или по-английски можете спросить. Номер картинки в задании 3, мне кажется, это хорошая идея, чтобы точно было introduction. Более того, обратите внимание, что за несколько дней до экзамена у экзаменаторов обычно бывает летучка, либо какие-то финальные версии по тому, как оценивается задание в этом году. Это прям случается все в последний момент. Иногда могут быть сюрпризы. Поэтому следите за новостями в интернете, с кем-то посоветуйтесь до того. Иногда бывает, чтобы какое-то последнее решение для себя принять финальное перед экзаменом, возможно, что-то чуть-чуть переиначить. Ну, например, добавить слово you или не добавлять слово you вдруг. Возможно, это понадобится уточнить прямо накануне. Да, спасибо. Вот для Android и для iOS в чате сейчас вы видите ссылки на приложение. Совершенно бесплатно. Там есть небольшая ошибка в одном из заданий, но это вы ее сразу заметите, все другие точно потренируйте, сколько хотите. Угу. Татьяна Кут, я не знаю, возможно, практика, и я жил в Америке, возможно, поэтому вы расслышали британский акцент. Окей. Я вижу, что вопросов пока больше нет. Спасибо большое и удачи вам в подготовке. Может быть, увидимся еще раз. Хорошего лета. И в этом году используйте свой июнь и июль здраво. Немножечко погуляйте, и надеюсь, что это дополнительное время, оно поможет вам заработать дополнительные баллы. Ну и дальше ваша жизнь случится, как случится. Удачи. Всего доброго. Пока.